Schools, and it seems like a far-left crank has somehow managed to infiltrate a union, Scott.
Well, finally, we've got a far-left person heading a union. Who knew, right?
Ew.
He's a self-professed social justice warrior, by the way. He's won an award for that. And seriously, his name is Daniel Khabib, and he's been elected as the NEU General Secretary. And he's professed a few political beliefs that are making people a bit anxious. One is that the war in the Ukraine is kind of the UK's fault. Another is that he attended a sort of festival where the audience was singing songs about, well, their negative feelings about Jewish people. So
yes,
we're now wondering
he called for globalise the Intifada.
Yes,
this last year, and that is a call, arguably, to murder Jews around the world,
yes,
which we're seeing in Israel. And so that's what the Intifada is. It's innocent people, children, as we've just seen, like yesterday, being murdered, not soldiers, civilians. And when they say globalise the Intifada, that's what they're calling for. So that is arguably disgusting. Also, he's a big supporter of Corbyn, which I would argue makes anyone at this point who's still a supporter of him being racist.
Yeah.
Well, and these things are things that he's not shying away from. He'd like a peaceful dialogue in the Ukraine, he says, and he thinks that the UK is bullying both sides to have a war.
I mean, it's nonsensical to support. I mean, he's not come out and openly supported Putin, but by criticising the West and criticising NATO, he's implicitly backing Putin and giving ammunition to Putin. When Putin sees, when the Kremlin sees people in the West, leftist politicians, and some right-wing politicians criticising NATO and weakening Ukraine, it gives them hope, and it makes them think, oh, if we just hang on, if we kill some more Ukrainians, then we can eventually wear them down. And
it's a bit more complicated, though, because you're not going to find a lot of Ukrainians in the Ukraine in support necessarily with a warm place in their heart for the EU, the UK, or NATO.
No, I think you will.
No, I don't think you will.
No, I can
tell you that you are wrong about that. That people that live in the Ukraine, that my friends who live in the Ukraine, have a very strained relationship with the EU because they've turned their back on the Ukraine. And actually, the UK and the Ukraine and the EU encourage the Ukraine to dismantle their nuclear
weapons,
policy. So the problem in the Ukraine is they feel like they don't have support very much from anyone right now. And so I think he's trying to sound like he's got boots on the ground in the Ukraine, like he knows more than the UK does. I think he's trying to sound like he's, like I said, a social justice warrior, and he knows what's going on and we don't.
Can we just get back to the story? This is interesting, but I just want to get back to the story here. Does it matter? Because the other things he's saying, he says he wants to deal with underfunding in schools, Ofsted, reform, teacher workload. These sound like good things.
Yes.
But do his political positions make a difference to his role now?
Well, I think it'll completely undermine his credibility. I mean, we've seen this in a lot of unions, and a lot of, like the Students' Union, for example, another anti-Semitic leader who had to step down as a result of it. So yeah, I mean, I think it's going to damage.
He's been elected in that position, though, because they knew these things about him. He's been quite active for the last 5 years.
Well, they said, but only 9% of the members actually voted in it. Yeah. But there are things here where he did talk, like British children are being taught a narrative of white saviours. He said it was difficult celebrating Churchill during the 75th anniversary of VE Day, that he wants to take back control of the education system from a brutally racist state that sends refugees to Rwanda. That is not someone who I want sort of... I wouldn't say he's directly teaching our kids, but to have an impact on the teachers.
He has been teaching. He's quite skilled educator of kids of all ages, though. So we wonder now what's been going on in classrooms, to be honest with you.
OK, well, next...